in the annals of ancient lore, there's a tale so extraordinary, it's been whispered through the ages. A story of celestial beings, forbidden love, and the wrath of the divine. Today, we re-diving deep into the hidden realms of biblical mythology to uncover the shocking truth about what the Archangel Michael did to the wives of the fallen angels. Now, before we embark on this mind-bending journey, let's set the stage. Picture a world where heaven and earth weren't so far apart, where angels walked among mortals, and where the line between the divine and the human was blurred beyond recognition. This was the world of the antediluvian age, a time shrouded in mystery and ripe with cosmic drama. Our story begins with the fallen angels, those celestial rebels who dared to defy the will of the Almighty. These weren't your run-of-the-mill cherubs, folks. We're talking about powerful, otherworldly beings who abandoned their posts in the heavenly realms, seduced by the beauty of mortal women. But their actions didn't just ruffle a few feathers upstairs. They set in motion a chain of events that would alter the course of human history. Now, you might be wondering, what's the big deal? Angels falling in love with humans sounds kind of romantic, right? Well, hold on to your halos, because this is where things get wild. You see, when these fallen angels, also known as the Watchers, got cozy with human women, they didn't just break heavenly protocol. They created a new race of beings, the Nephilim. The Nephilim were no ordinary offspring. Half angel, half human, these giants among men possessed strength, knowledge, and abilities far beyond those of mortal ken. They were the stuff of legends, the inspiration for tales of demigods and heroes that would echo through the millennia. But with great power came great corruption, and the Nephilim's presence on earth threatened to tip the balance of creation itself. This is where our main player enters the scene, the Archangel Michael. Now, Michael wasn't just any angel. He was the big kahuna, the celestial enforcer, God's right-hand man when it came to laying down the law. And let me tell you, when Michael showed up, you knew things were about to get real. But here's where the story takes a turn that'll make your head spin. While most accounts focus on what happened to the fallen angels themselves, there's a lesser-known narrative that deals with their mortal wives. And trust me, it's not for the faint of heart. According to some of the lost books and ancient texts that didn't make it into the official biblical canon, Michael was tasked with more than just punishing the Watchers. He had to deal with the source of their temptation, the human women who had dared to lie with angels. Now, before we go further, let's take a moment to consider these women. Imagine living in a world where beings of light and power walked the earth, where the line between myth and reality was as thin as gossamer. Can we really blame them for being captivated by these celestial suitors? But in the eyes of the divine, intent matters little when the consequences are so dire. Michael's approach to these women was nothing short of shocking. According to some accounts, he didn't just separate them from their angelic lovers. No, his mission was far more severe. It's said that Michael was commanded to sterilize these women, to ensure that no more hybrid offspring could be born into the world. But how does an archangel sterilize a human? Well, buckle up, because this is where things get really wild. Some texts speak of a divine fire, a purifying flame that Michael wielded to cleanse these women of their ability to bear the children of angels. Others describe a more metaphysical approach, where Michael altered the very essence of their being, rendering them incapable of conceiving celestial seed. Now, I know what you're thinking. This sounds like something out of a fantasy novel, and you're not wrong. But remember, we're dealing with stories that blur the line between myth and history, between the physical and the spiritual. These tales weren't just meant to entertain. They were attempts to explain the unexplainable, to give form to the formless mysteries of existence. But let's take a step back and consider the bigger picture. Why would such drastic measures be necessary? Well, according to these ancient texts, the union of angels and humans was more than just a celestial faux pas. It threatened the very fabric of creation. The Nephilim, with their superhuman abilities and divine knowledge, were upsetting the natural order. They were teaching humans secrets that were never meant for mortal minds. Everything from metallurgy and weaponry to cosmetics and sorcery. This forbidden knowledge, passed down from the Watchers through their offspring, was seen as a corruption of humanity. It was accelerating our development in ways that weren't part of the divine plan. And let's be real, when you're dealing with an all-powerful, all-knowing deity, messing with the plan is generally not a good idea. So, Michael's actions, as harsh as they might seem, were portrayed as a necessary evil, a way to stem the tide of celestial influence and return humanity to its intended path. But here's where it gets really interesting. Some scholars argue that this tale isn't just about literal angels and humans. They see it as an allegory for the dangers of forbidden knowledge, of reaching beyond our station and grasping at powers we're not meant to wield. Think about it. Throughout history, we've grappled with the consequences of our own innovations. From the atomic bomb to genetic engineering, we've constantly pushed the boundaries of what's possible, often without fully understanding the ramifications. Could these ancient stories be early attempts to wrestle with these very same issues? But let's not get too lost in metaphor. The visceral nature of Michael's actions against the wives of the fallen angels speaks to a deeper, more primal fear. The fear of divine retribution, of cosmic justice that operates on a scale beyond our comprehension. It's a reminder that in the grand scheme of things, our actions have consequences that may ripple out far beyond our understanding. Now, you might be wondering, where can I read about all this? Well, that's where things get tricky. Much of this lore comes from texts that didn't make the cut for the official biblical canon. Books like Enoch, Jubilees, and various pseudepigraphal works contain these expanded narratives. They offer a window into a world where the boundaries between the divine and the mundane were far more porous than we typically imagine. These stories, whether you see them as literal truth, allegorical wisdom, or simply fascinating mythology, offer us a glimpse into the minds of our ancestors. They show us how they grappled with questions of good and evil, free will and divine intervention, the nature of knowledge, and the consequences of overreaching. As we wrap up this mind-bending journey through celestial drama and divine retribution, it's worth pondering what these ancient tales mean for us today. In a world where technology is advancing at breakneck speed, where we're constantly pushing the boundaries of what's possible, perhaps there's wisdom to be found in these old stories. Not as literal warnings against consorting with angels, but as reminders to consider the consequences of our actions, to respect the delicate balance of our world, and to approach power and knowledge with humility and care. So, the next time you gaze up at the night sky, wondering about the mysteries of the universe, remember the tale of Michael and the wives of the fallen angels. It's a stark reminder that in the cosmic dance between heaven and earth, even the smallest steps can have universe-altering consequences. And who knows? Maybe, just maybe, there's more to this old story than meets the eye. After all, in the realm of the divine and the mysterious, anything is possible.